I recorded a video about John Rocker recently because Rocker was on the Sam Hyde show, which was an exciting event for me because I remember John Rocker and the controversy that broke out 26 years ago, almost to the day. It was in December of 1999 that Sports Illustrated came out with this article where this guy was profiling John Rocker. It was basically a hit piece, although John Rocker was basically just speaking from the heart, telling him how he really felt, and asked about, when he was asked, if he would ever want to play in New York, he said, "Hell no." Thinking about getting on the number 7 train next to all these gross degenerate people. I don't want that. And you can see the actual words that he uses in my prior video, but he talks about having walking down Times Square and hearing nobody speaking English, and surrounded by a single mother with 8 kids and some queer with AIDS. That's a quote. That's a direct quote. And et cetera, and so on. And, at the time it was like, it was a moral panic. It was, but this was before people talked about virtue signaling, but it was essentially an opportunity for liberals to virtue signal and just scapegoat Rocker, so he was under heavy scrutiny for months afterwards. Was booed by numerous people. I think he was maybe even suspended for a few days. Just for saying these things about how he didn't like New York, and about how New York was full of people who were undesirable, and and so I was thinking, what if something like that were to happen now? Obviously, things are worse in many ways in 2025 than they were in 1999. Things have, things were maybe starting to fall apart then. Things are in the are quite a bit further along in the falling apart process now, 26 years later. But oddly enough, some things are better. And when I really thought about it, I thought to myself, if John Rocker or somebody like if the Rocker story happened today, if Sports Illustrated came out with this hit piece on John Rocker, or a player like John Rocker today, there would be people. There would be the normal people clutching their pearls. He would be getting condemned in the media, and all that would be happening. But today, there would also be a robust defense. There would be a demographic who would immediately speak out in his defense, which didn't happen in 1999. He got piled on. And the people who thought that it was all a little much, and thought that he was getting scapegoated, and thought that it was out of proportion and unfair, they didn't really form a solid block they didn't form. You didn't hear that kind of commentary or read that kind of commentary most places. Anywhere that was anywhere close to being mainstream. I don't think that would be the case today. I think today, if Rocker had said those things, you would immediately have people saying, well, yeah, Maybe he's didn't say it in the most sensitive way. Maybe he didn't say it in the nicest way, but hell, that's New York. Can you deny that that's what New York is like? Can you deny that the number 7 train, you get on the number 7 train and those kind of people get on? Can you deny that if you're walking down Times Square, you hear a lot of people talking in languages that are not English? Can you deny any of that? Where's he wrong? That's what people would say today. Immediately. Like there would be, he would have people immediately riding to his defense, and making their voices heard. And that's what's interesting, is that in 1999, the conservatism wasn't really like that. There wasn't, those kinds of voices weren't really out there. And today they are. Today you would hear that kind of stuff. Even and when CNN and the Washington Post and the usual suspects, when they did their thing, and Rolling Stone magazine and Sports Illustrated magazine for that matter, all of the commissariat, when they all launched into their pearl clutching, virtue signaling, oh, this man is such a horrible racist bigot from the South, we hate racist rednecks, blah blah blah. When they did that, when they went into that mode, it would get far less attention today, because people don't pay nearly as much attention to the mainstream media that they did back then. And when they do get attention, they don't get much respect from a large segment of the population. They don't have the same cachet that they had in 1999. So if the John Rocker incident were to happen in 2025, in December of 2025, i.e. now, instead of happening in December of 1999, interestingly enough, people would have Rocker's back much, much more, to a much greater extent than they did back then. And I guess that what we've seen is, as things get worse, as things degenerate, as things fall apart, the resistance to these trends become more pronounced as well. And that's why we have a whole generation of young men who are apparently now very very based in ways that young men weren't when I was a young man. Not as a rule. There were some who were like that, but they were sort of looked at askance. They were sort of seen as the outsiders. So I guess it's just one of those things where you have every action forms a reaction. It's in 2025 we're seeing the reaction, and in some ways what would have been reviled language in 1999. Anyone who defended John Rocker, anyone who came out and said he's right, he's totally right about New York. What's you got? Why are you so mad? Like are you going to say that he's wrong about anything? Where was he wrong specifically? Tell me where was he wrong? You just didn't hear that back then, but it's what you would immediately hear now. So that's just a way of keeping things in some perspective.